Hello, Yue.
Hello, Thomas.
Very nice to see you again here today.
Yeah, very nice to have both of us here.
Of course, as always. Well, this time we don't have an interview like in our last episode, but today, what are we doing today, actually? So what is it about?
Yeah, so we want to go deeper into the AI products, right?
Right.
And look at the different perspective of whether it is useful or it is, is exactly what we expect or is something else.
Right. So the point is to take like every third part of every series that we do is about a debate format, let's say. And this format, in this case, what we will be doing today is to talk about different perspectives on three main topics, which are, of course, very relevant for AI products, specifically regulation, then monetization, which was a topic which we had also in the other ones, and
especially in our interview.
Yeah. Exactly, and about whether, let's call it the future of work, or basically if AI changes and AI products change the way we work, right?
Right.
Perfect. Well, which shall we start with?
I would say we can start with our favorite topic, right?
Right. Let's go for it. I think I know what it is.
I think that we don't see eye and eye on this, right? So.
Well, to be honest, we do a little bit, but we don't have, let's say, just from the outset, extremely similar positions.
Angle, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Please take it away. Which topic we'll be speaking in the beginning about?
Yeah. So beginning. I think we touched down a bit about the regulation and mentioned probably in the previous series also about the European Union AI Act.
Right.
But I think we didn't go deeper into that. But the point is not to to like present what that means, but it's rather than how our interpretation is about this AI Act.
Because it is a very important topic with respect to AI products, of course, right? Because it will, especially the EU AI Act in Europe, because that's what we're going to focus on, will be instrumental in which AI products make sense and which not, which will be...
which will shape maybe how AI is going to work or what it provides a framework how the AI should be.
Right.
And I would say it's the first of its kinds. In terms of the scope, there are different regulations also in the US and in China.
Right.
But it's not as comprehensive as this one.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed. And what will be your position? So what will you be saying about regulation in the EU AI Act? So where are you standing on?
My stand would be on I would say it's too early to have a comprehensive regulation. Yeah.
So you're basically saying no to regulation.
Yeah,
I'm just teasing you.
to have a small government is preferable for business.
Right.
I would say.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of regulation and also if we refer to specifically the EU AI Act, I see that because it sees a lot on the risk side, what's the risk can be if we have working AI systems, and I think the fear here is to have something like what we see in the movie, right? Like Skynet in the Terminator.
Of course.
Like some sentient AI and going to destroy the mankind somehow, yeah.
So you're saying that the perceived danger is much bigger than it actually is. So therefore, something like the EU AI Act is a little bit of an exaggeration, let's say.
I think it's at this point of time. I would not say what we will have like in 20 years. I don't know. We don't know how it evolves.
That's true.
But at this point of time, I think it's too early. And my perception is the risk for manipulation is much higher than the AI being the risk itself. What I mean about that is the AI, I mean, as we have talked about a lot, the nature of what the system we have right now, the large language model and so on, it's not as sophisticated as we expect to be, right?
True.
So the risk of having a Skynet is very in the far future, but rather than the how the human can manipulate with the AI system is much higher. And
so you're basically saying we don't need regulation over AI. What we need is better, I won't even call it regulation, better mechanisms so that you can stop manipulation in any form it can come, right?
We need something more like concrete framework, which going deeper into to regulate more like how human behave and how they use it rather than the AI system itself. Yeah, that's how I put it.
Yeah, true enough. I have to agree that it is a big part of the risk, not only of AI, but especially AI, because AI is a very useful tool, that it's not about the tool itself so much, but about the things around it. Therefore, manipulation could come in many forms and will not necessarily be stopped because you stopped some products of AI. But my retort to that would be, still, I think it is important to have at least the framework as it is right now, because it still stops some big risks, or it mitigates them, right? So basically, maybe you will still have manipulation, but the AUA Act ensures that there will not be, at least in the AU, products which are, for example, for biometrics and for credit scoring and so on and so forth. These are banned. So nobody will be able even to make such products. Therefore, you cut away a big part of the risk, manipulation or not, right? Let's say.
Okay, let's look at at that point, right? So I think in the framework mentioned that this kind of data, especially biometrics or personalized data, is under high risk. They categorize different risks. And but I see there's a lot of already what we have in the world is a lot of fraud cases by not using very sophisticated AI system, but rather than like non-personalized data.
Right.
For example, there is already you can find also in a lot of forum and internet. There are already one like the evil twins of ChatGPT called WormGPT. So this machine or this AI language, big large language tool model can generate texts for phishing emails,
right,
for example, and even built in with like Toyang worms and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
So and they send out emails but to everyone without being without using this biometric data or even like personalized data, because the system doesn't know who the targets are.
Right.
But they just target everyone.
Right.
And someone will catch it, right?
So you're saying it's a case that the regulation does not cover, because in the regulation, for example, at least in part of it, it's about personalized data, but you don't need that even with simpler systems like a chat bot.
Yes.
You can
simply using email,
which is not forbidden from the regulation. You can rig it in such a way that you actually create
can create a disaster for people.
This is true. I will give the point that it's not like I still believe that having at least some things banned with AI is helpful, but I will concede the point that regulation cannot stop all of the risks that you have with AI, because it's not only about regulating it, it's about learning how to use it in a good way and somehow avoiding these situations where it can be used in such a way, right?
Yeah, avoiding situation to be such way, and I think it's better. It's maybe would be more helpful to regulate, like kind of human behavior instead of the machines. And another point that I look at is it's also mentioned in the framework that for the high risk systems, AI systems, it requires human oversight, which means there should be more human intervention.
Of course.
But even that measures, I mean, on the surface of that, it can work, right? But I mean, by just listen to it, but in the reality, there's a lot of manipulation exactly happen by the human intervention.
This is true,
right? So because the risk is not it's because the AI system doesn't it's not. I mean,
a risk in itself. You want to say?
It's not the risk itself. It's just a tool. AI is just a tool.
It's true, but I mean, regulations
depends on how the human use it.
It's true, but as with other regulations, I would say, because I wanted to bring also another point, knowing what the tools are and they can do, then they can stop some parts of the tools or some applications of the tool from actually being applied, and some of them promote them more. And I think I will go into the second point that I would have for pro-regulation, is that in the current space where people don't really know, especially businesses don't exactly know how to use AI in a good way, regulation might even be helpful in that way. So it might give you a kind of corridor in which you know which systems are the ones that will be helpful for the people, and therefore push them more instead of doing other things which might be they might bring you some money in the short run, but they will be harmful in the short run. And what I'm saying is, I don't say that the people who did the UAI Act, of course they had some consultants which told them about the technology, but they themselves, they're mostly lawyers or politicians, and they also don't know exactly how AI works. But the important thing is that everybody else doesn't know either. Therefore, it's good if somebody comes and tells you, people, this is the playing field. You're not allowed to go out of it. It makes you focus more on the good things. And I would go even one step further and say this actually helps innovation, because what do you need for innovation for AI? You need, it's a classical case, I think we mentioned it at some other point, it's an inverse U curve. If you have too limited options, then you don't have innovations. If you have too many options, then again you don't have good innovation and creativity. You have to go somewhere in the middle. So it's actually good if regulation comes and tells you, don't focus on everything, focus on these three things, because the others are forbidden, right? And then you can go and make better products in some specific areas.
Yeah, I think it's also to your point, there is money to be made for the regulated systems. But I think this is sometimes especially in the in terms of monetization, people, I would say majority of people will focus on what is allowed, right? Yeah. And within that spectrum, it's like everything else, every other product is like that. Even like, for example, drugs. There's good drugs and then there's bad drugs, and some drugs help people and some drugs just kill people. And it's the same thing with AI, because it's only a tool, and some criminal always find a way to use it, even it's not within the
legal premises. So, it's true.
And if as soon as there's money to be made, people find a way to do that. So I think what my point would be to find to understand how the possibility there is for the system, and then make a judgment, or even like based on the use cases and how to regulate it, instead of just provide a very like blanket framework.
Exactly. So, but this is actually one thing. I totally understand this, and I concede the point that it's more about the use cases than in the general part. But I think the EU AI Act, I mean, you can say it as a disadvantage that it's also very fuzzy, but I think actually it's a feature, not a bug. You make it fuzzy in the beginning, but people of course know that this initial framework will not be able to cover all of the important matters. It's mostly going to be the basis on which law will be made later, let's say, right? And then it will be about the use cases, because you cannot take in a framework like that all of the use cases, but you still have to have it as a basis, because otherwise you wouldn't even be able to regulate specific use cases, or it would be too specific, right? If you don't connect it to a larger framework, then let's say somebody would do a very bad chatbot, for example, and then a court would come and would say, this chatbot is not allowed. Yeah, but then somebody will change it just a little bit, and then it will be a new chatbot and it will still be allowed. And you as a court or as a country or a regulative authority, you cannot run behind each case. You need a basic framework, even if it's fuzzy in the beginning. That would be my point. So I myself, I wouldn't make that too specific in the beginning. I would say there are some things that are allowed, there are other things that are not allowed. For everything else, let's talk when time comes.
Yeah, that's this is maybe and it can, it is kind of a risk also in the future, right? So because it's just a framework and it is not binding at the moment, because we will need the really like the law to be passed, in the under national parliament.
Exactly, true.
Of each of the member states, to be binding.
Exactly.
To be enough, more effective. And I would say this is from the technology point of view, it covers like the base maybe, but there's also something that's unforeseen on the other side. And I will just take like an example of the .com bubbles, which we mentioned like in the I think in the first part of our series, right? After the bubble bust, there was a new act passed in the US because it cost a lot of company a lot of money,
Right.
And this act called Sarbanes-Oxley Act in 2002, or short for SOA, and this SOA it didn't regulate the internet company per se, because it's not directly connected to the internet or the business itself, but it's more like it regulate the auditor.
Right. Okay.
And the background of that is a lot of company at that time, so even nothing related to internet business.
Other tech companies.
They use this bubble, the .com bubble, or the .com frenzy, to create fraud in the accounting. They create certain non-GAAP metrics in the books, and which it doesn't exist because it is supposed to be actually a loss, but they book it as as a revenue because they want the book to look really pretty, the statement to be pretty.
Right.
So the stock market, so the stock will not drop.
Right. Understood.
Right. The stock prices remain the same, and I would say the reason or the motivation behind it, because a lot of lawmakers didn't understand the product at that time.
Exactly. Even after the bubble bust, right?
Even after the bubble bust, they didn't understand the product and the nature of the product. So, and those companies use that because a lot of people didn't understand it, and then to disguise certain things as not how it is, right, in the book. And that creates a lot of even more bubble. And that's also part of the reason why the bubble bust.
Understood.
And it has nothing to do with the technology at all.
Itself,
itself, but it's more like accounting problem.
But I understand where you're going with that. It becomes clear to me also the point that you made in the beginning about maybe not yet, right? Maybe it's not the right point yet to have the regulation, because you don't know in the beginning and you cannot foresee what exactly will happen, where the problems will come from. So in the best case, it might just be let's say a useless regulation, because you're trying to regulate something but not knowing what will be the problem. You are doing X and then something else comes up,
but
right?
No one actually, it's not touching the ground, so to say,
right. So I agree. This is a little bit of a counter thesis to what I said before, that you have to wait to to see the problems. Unfortunately, that's how human nature and humankind works, in order to make good solutions for them. You cannot foresee all the problems in the beginning, and therefore regulation at that point in AI might be a little bit useless. Yeah.
Lives always find a way. This is how I put it. Right?
This is true.
And it's difficult to regulate everything. And I mean, I'm not saying that the framework is bad or anything, but I think it's at this point it's a bit useless. This one thing.
Understood. Okay, this is a good point, I think, to wrap up this topic. But taking your comment on life always finds a way, I would say life always finds a way to make money, right? This is
definitely life always find a way to make money.
Yeah, yes. But in this case, I would say I would take the other position, for example, on our next topic or perspective, which is monetization of AI and AI products, and I will be the one saying, I think not. So if the question is, can AI make you money? Somebody stops me on the street and tells me, can AI make me money? I will tell them, no, they cannot. And my main reason for that, I would say, is that it's very dependent on how you pose the question. And that's why I said, can AI make you money? I would say, yes, if you are thinking of AI as a pure product, right? As something which we now all know, because since 2020 and 2021, AI has begun to be marketed very specifically and very per se, I would say, right? Before that, there was a lot of AI already happening. So machine learning, deep learning, all of that is AI. I know for some people this will...
Or just like automated trading system, which is an algorithm.
Which is basically AI is always an algorithm, right? That's the point. But even AI, not in the form that we know it today, not as a chatbot, not as ChatGPT, was already there, right? And nobody made a big fuss of that because it was built in other systems, and therefore made these systems being a very good tool better, for example, giving the opportunity to have recommendations, and therefore it could help you make money, but not as the product per se. Because the way it is right now, right, we mentioned it in the first part of the series, if you take AI as itself, a chatbot, for example, and the expectation is that you will gain 30% better productivity. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And we saw from the study, and that's where I put the point that I said, from all the companies which are applying AI in a non-general way, only 5% of them actually manage to make money out of their AI products. So that's where I say, no, AI is not going to make money. AI built in other things, yes, maybe.
Yeah, I would say AI can make money, but not in the way how you expected.
Me or others, but then
you or others, yes.
Okay, the question is then how would AI make money? So convince me that AI can make money. Tell me how.
It's I mean, in the study mentioned, especially, or the data comes from most of the like corporation data from corporation who try to implement AI systems, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't mention. I mean, it didn't mention anything like individual, like freelancer or individual entrepreneurs, who find a way to do that as a tool, not in itself, right? And there are some examples for that. For example, there is currently it's very popular in the Chinese social media, is try to teach people to as a graphic designer, again freelancer, to use the AI system to create graphics. And I mean, in itself, of course, it's not like you press the button and then the picture comes out. It's more like you have to know what you want to create.
Of course,
right?
you have to have a basis.
There's your brand behind it.
Yeah, and basic knowledge about how
like
graphic design works.
The structure of the picture should be, and then what kind of object should be in there, and how this kind of conveyed the feeling of emotions, right? And there are a lot, it's quite popular because people have succeeded to use that as a tool and generate. I mean, on the other side, also because of perception that using AI it can be much faster creating picture. So the price for creating picture also drop. True. And also drive people to use that more. Because instead of let's say $100 for small picture, and now you can pay for maybe 3 pictures. But I mean, just example. I don't know exactly how much that costs. Right?
Yeah, but it certainly drives down the costs because it makes something easier. Yes. Classic example of technology making a process much easier, therefore driving down the cost as a tool.
But not not the AI system itself.
Right. I get so
you are
that's
still
your point.
The brain behind it. So this is just like graphic designer or even like content creator. I think at some point there's a statistic like how many % of the content in Instagrams is AI generated.
True.
Right?
I mean, a lot of the content, even on the World Wide Web at the moment, is AI generated, right?
Right. Yeah.
Even if we don't see it, but if you just take the numbers, I think that I saw something lately about it being maybe even more than 50%, basically.
Yeah, so it's not surprising, and
which means that text that's written from bots, right?
Yeah,
so.
Of course, yeah. But still, like the person behind it need to to give the specific instruction. True. What kind of content you need.
True.
Yeah, so it's not exactly like, oh, okay, I press a button and then it's automatically there, right? So it's still like let's call it architect behind it.
Right. We will talk about this more in the part of how it changes work. But I wanted to sum it up now. So what we're saying is, yes, you are saying yes, AI can make you money, but only under specific conditions. The conditions that you have, like, let's say a very small business, so that this cycle, like, first of all, the investment of you using AI, right?
It's cheaper.
It's much cheaper, and your production can be much more, and you have much more control about what you want to do, and you have a very specific task. So these are the conditions.
Yes.
Because then it can actually boost your productivity, your output, it can give you new ideas, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you're a freelance graphic designer, you might be able to use AI as a tool and have a good ROI on that. But on the other hand, what I said is the AI tool itself, and if you try to build it in, or just to take it and use it in a company, that will not bring you money, because that's where what the study also said, right?
Because the process is too complex for one single system, and this is but I mean, if you are a freelancer and you have very specific tasks, and I think this can boost your productivity and also generate more money.
Yeah. And that's the problem also for the companies. Like if you see it in bigger terms, right? And that's, I think, what the study tried to do a little bit. The companies who use it themselves, they cannot generate very quick ROI because of 2 reasons. Because, first of all, AI is still very expensive. So if you take all of the costs inside related with making a good LLM, a good chatbot, for example, you'll see that it's enormous. And on the other hand, if I am a company and I try to use it, I have to invest a lot of time in order to build it in my systems, personalize it enough so it works with my data, and teach my people to use it in the right way. So at the end, I can say, yes, because I integrated AI in my systems, I got a good ROI after 5 years, right? Which I'm not saying that this might not be the case, right? I'm not saying it can never make you money, just to make it clear, but it certainly cannot make you money in the short run. That's what I would say.
Right, yeah. And this is why I put the caveat. It's especially, a good ROI is mostly for individuals, I would say. And less for a very complex corporation that you have like multiple different processes that have to work together. And this is probably not a good a place for implementation.
Of course, what I would say also is to close this matter of money. What we see at the moment, and what I take my argument from, is that there is a huge amount of money being pumped into AI at the moment, mostly because businesses and markets always need a hype, right? But it is unclear, even without the study, people knew that it's not bringing them money in directly, because how much money can you make from just a chatbot, right? From the usage. It's a little bit like, let's say, other businesses where people are not so eager to pay a lot of money just to have, for example, a chatbot talking to them, right? So, but the money you invest in it in order to make it work, this is a huge amount. So it doesn't make you money in the beginning because the use case is not good enough, right? You're using it in the wrong way. You're trying to take a hammer and sell it only as a hammer, not as a tool to build a house.
Yes, again, because in a company, and especially like even a medium-sized company, there's so complex processes, and it's difficult just to use one single AI tool.
Of course.
As we say previously, we will need to like multiple layer of using an agent and with multiple layer of different LLM tools, and that can work, but the investment is huge because the implementation is difficult.
Exactly. So to sum it up, I think we can say can AI make you money? Yes, but not in the short run. So
or you can just invest in the stock market right now for short term. Because,
well, this is another thing, yeah.
Because right now the cynical me, I would say, right now it took a really rather, I would say, aggressive approach right now at the stock market. Like all the big companies, the stock prices are so high, especially. The particular reason for that is there is a lot of money floating around, and there is nowhere to go. Especially there is no key industry or core industry in the US right now, so there is no good investment on at the stock market. So most people, try to invest their money in the AI companies like OpenAI and Google and so on.
So in the short run, it can make you money there if you invest in some stocks because it's a hype. That's what you're saying right now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
No, but not because AI itself is good.
No.
It could be another hype, right?
No, it's
maybe
just,
in 5 years we have quantum computers as a hype, for example, which is something that it's still up and coming, let's say, but it still won't make money so easily, but people will invest in it. And then you can make money by speculating. No?
Yeah, it's a speculation and gambling addiction. Nothing more than that. So,
but I was referring more to making actual money, like for a company, right? If I'm a company and I invest 1 million in AI in 1 year, do I know that I will get 1,100,000 at the end? I think not. So. Good. And maybe the third and last point that we have, which is also very interesting, we started it up a little bit, like how...
Does it change work?
Yeah, and then I have to say, already I concede you the point, because you brought it very elegantly before. Yes, for a graphic designer, for example, as you mentioned, it does change the way they work, right? It makes them more into architects of what they are doing, of their trade, let's say, than into carpenters, right? Let's say basic workers of their trade.
Yeah, people, workers or workers. Yeah, I mean generally people like labor or workers move from being the analyzer to be the synthesizer, and before, like there are a lot of like the data analysts in a big company in bank, and now maybe from like 100 analysts you only need 50 because the rest of the task can be done by the system.
True.
Right. And this is already changing the nature of work and also how we perceive what work is. And I mean, even before that, we have these checkboards, not AI per se, but robots. They are very stupid robots. Because they only these robots only do one task. Nothing than that. They do what you program in, and that's all they do, right? And that has changed already a lot in the production lines. I think there is also like data out of China. There are more newly like built-in robots in China and the whole world combined in the recent 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
So,
really?
Yeah. So that's already changed. The number you need, the number of people you need in the factory.
True.
Right?
True.
And this is. I mean, we didn't talk about this before because it was more about like office work.
Yeah.
But this, the blue collar work is completely impacted by robots and AI systems.
True.
Even the old one. I mean, this kind of systems are not sophisticated. They don't even talk back.
Yeah. Right? Of course, they don't even talk at all. They just do something else.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take it. I will take your points because I think they're good ones, and to the one I still have something to retort, to the other not so much, because about the robots, you are right. It does change. Like if you extend AI also, which it is true that you can do that, to a wider perception of the world, as in more intelligent robots which are working with AI and can do more things, even in their interface, for example, how they work in factories. Yeah, I totally agree. This changes the work as it was being done, because at the one point you had workers in the factory doing everything manually, and now you have A, much fewer workers, B, you have people doing other things in the factory, for example, working the machines, which are doing the work. Right?
Yes. So just program the machine.
Exactly. You need different skills for that, right? Now, a factory worker right now is not learning how to put things from A to B and how to, they are learning sometimes also how to solder a door or something like that, but usually they're learning how the machines work. So in that way it changes. I agree. In the in white collar examples, I think though it doesn't, or that would be my point, it doesn't really change the work, because of the kind of work which is already on a much more abstract level. That would be my point. AI which comes now just acts as a helper in this work. It might even be a multiplier, right? But it doesn't really change the basic nature of work. And I will take my favorite example, which we have discussed also before at some point on that, and I will tell you, let's say, writing texts, right? Everybody needs to write emails, everybody needs to make presentations, and everybody needs to write some documents, for example, right? At some point you were writing them with a typing machine. At another point you were just writing them in the computer, there was no AI involved. And at some point then you got like better and better programs and software, but you were still just writing. It changed that, like the bigger change I would say was the passing from writing with a pencil and then typing. But since the typing machine, your basic work as a knowledge worker has not changed. You still think in your mind and you write something down, just the tools have become a little bit better. And now I'm bringing it in. Even if you bring AI into this equation, as in Copilot or similar systems, it still doesn't change very much that you as a knowledge worker have to conceptualize the text and you have to edit it in some way. Whether you do it per voice or you do it with just a prompt and then a text comes out in the beginning, you still have to type and you still have to think in texts. That's why I'm saying it doesn't really change your work. It just changes a little bit how you are doing it, right? But I guess this is a definition matter. Like, what does it mean changing your work, right?
I think 50 years from now, people will still work or actually want to work. It's because it's probably how you are as human, I would say. But I will take your points and even go radical into that. My point would be, yes, we do still use, we still type into computer and yes, we still do type into these prompts of ChatGPT or DeepSeek and whatever the AI system is, right? But the way how we do it is completely different now. like imagine 100 years ago, a good scientist, let's take the blue collar as example. We're not talking about we took the white collar worker as example, the knowledge worker, A good scientist 100 years ago have to learn everything by heart, the knowledge in the book, and also like even calculate by heart, right? Like calculating the numbers by heart.
I see where you're going with that,
and knowing how to find the map, for example, like looking at what the geographically where the country is. Right. And
information in general.
Information in general, and then somehow it's involved into like nowadays we don't even need to. We don't need to memorize this. How to calculate, multiply, right? Because the student can just bring the calculator into classes, even to exam, and the calculator does it for them, right? Because the nature of the knowledge has moved and multiplied, so we don't need that basic task to be done anymore, but we rather need to know where to find it.
True.
Like for example, you need to know where to find even the right information, also where to find the right information. You Google it, and then you try to cross-reference different sources and to find the right one, and so on.
Basically, you're saying that you are being more of an orchestrator than a producer, right? That's what you were saying. So before you had to produce the knowledge.
Anymore. That's this has shifted completely. Before the expert or like professor, expert or specialist in some area, they need to know everything by heart.
True. Now they don't anymore.
Now they don't, because they know they can find it anytime. The knowledge, right? They just need to know where and how to find it.
I would agree with that, but for me, I have a point, and to concede it, I would say again, what AI we are talking about, right? Because for me, let me do this differentiation between two classes of work. When I am a let's say, could be a graphic designer or somebody who works with text or does calculations or whatever, it is a different position if I'm actually doing the work, right? And have to write the text or have to do the calculations, and it's a different position if I'm a manager, right? This changes the work that you are doing, because in the one case you have to know the real work, Handwerk, as you say in German, and in the other you just have to know more or less how it works, right? When you're the manager of something, and tell people what they should do and for what reason, right? And I think in the future, or to take a little bit a step back from my position, I do believe AI will change work at some point. Maybe not directly now, but the more, for example, agents come into the game, the more, to come back to your point, knowledge workers will become orchestrators, will become managers, right? Instead of them being the producers or synthesizers. Yeah. Synthesizer is another way for what I mean with orchestrator, right? But not the producers themselves. They will become the managers of the agents the AI agents who actually do the work, right? They produce the text, they edit it, they validate it, for example, and make some pictures. And you as the worker would be the one who understands, you said it nicely before, you'll be a kind of architect, which brings it all together and tells them if it's good enough and how it should be and if it should be changed and so on and so forth. But I think we're not quite there yet. So AI, I would say my statement as AI might change the way we work, especially for white collar workers, but not yet. Like I see a lot of things not changing yet, even if AI, what we're talking about this time now, is already there for 5 years, but people still write emails more or less the same way like we did before.
I guess we are a bit behind in the workplace.
Maybe because we're in Germany, who knows?
Or maybe because digitalization is a problem here. So.
Yeah, true.
But also because I think the older generation do not have that in their in their past, so to say. They don't see it, and this is why it hasn't converted into something different. But from what I know or even heard from like people who are currently in the university, for example, or even younger than that, like in school. This has this AI system had changed their way of doing things completely.
I agreed.
That how they learn, how they study is completely different now.
Again, exactly. I wanted to say, I was thinking of exactly the same example right now about maybe teaching hasn't changed so much with AI, or because this is more of a...
Because the old generation thing, right?
Yeah, but not only because of that, because you still have to produce text, so it's just about writing them faster.
Yeah.
So, but learning, for example, that has changed a lot, also because it's the younger generations, but also because you have new tools which allow you to do things in different way, and you don't have to open the book and go to page XYZ and read like that. You have to know where to look for things, as we said, and that is kind of a different
you don't have to replicate it anymore, right? And or even like copy into your mind. And now it's all about you have to know where to find things.
And still
to bring it together. So that's the point.
Exactly. And to close it like that, though, I would say as a counter example to what you say about the blue collar workers, because for me a summary says the following: yes, there are workplaces and trades which have, like, not now the last 5 years, but already since a lot of years, changed because of technology in general and AI as more specific, the factory, as we said, right? Radically, what people are actually doing in their day-to-day work, but also how many people you need. In white collar workers, it has changed a little bit maybe, and for specific things, right? So depending on the position you are, if you're a teacher or if you're a student or if you are an accountant or if you are somebody who is a graphic designer, right? And there is a third category where AI won't change anything because it's all about people, for example. So I'm thinking...
Yeah, for example, manager. When you manage people, there is no change actually for you, not so much.
Or in health, when it's about like creating genuine connections with people, right? I mean, probably psychologists, and it will be interesting to ask also some people around, will also be helped in their work about that. But at the end, you're going to a psychologist because you want them to hear out your problems. Although, and that is interesting, I have heard that a lot of people right now talk with ChatGPT and other AIs and tell all of their problems. And of course, it's good because it covers, like, if you cannot find a psychologist appointment, for example, you can just talk to the AI and you have somebody to write, right? But what I'm saying is it changes the way people relate to this because the tool gives the opportunity, but it doesn't change the work of the psychologists themselves, because they still, if you get an appointment, you still have to be there face to face, talk with people, connect to them, understand. So for them, I think there won't be so much change at the end.
Yeah, because people still want to talk to people. That's this will never change.
Well,
right?
Never. Never is a big word. I don't know. I was just thinking now. Can we say never? Maybe not. Maybe it will change.
Okay.
But
never is a big word.
I don't see changing it also like tomorrow for sure. Right? Not at least with the systems that we have right now. But who knows? Maybe there will be other developments which will make everything different in.
Or maybe also a generational thing, right? That's how we perceive people to people on the personal level is maybe not the same as for Gen Alpha, for example, who grew up with ChatGPT.
Exactly. Right? I'm very eager to see how they will be using it, like, in the future. But I think this is also a good way for us to say, if you have any opinions or any comments on that, or you have other experiences, for example, please let us know, because we are still learning about the things. Like, we're doing our research, but we're not infallible. So let us know.
Put it in the comments, please.
Exactly. And we hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. This was a very nice series about AI and AI products. So thank you, Yue, and stay tuned.